online learning. So if it is live anywhere, then and you get in to see it, good job you, because it's going to be up for about a week afterwards, and then it's going to be taken down. So this is just me recording that and hopefully helping people along the way of doing that by sharing it live while I'm doing it. So I can't see any comments, but anyway, let's crack on. So welcome to Family Court College is what I've called it, powered by the Alienated Dads Network. We're here to guide you through the technically one of the most difficult things you're ever going to do in your life. Yeah, it's a tough journey of going through family court, and we're going to help you rebuild your life and rebuild your confidence after family breakdown. Remember, treat yourself and others like they matter. Surround yourself with supportive people. Set tangible goals and be efficient. These steps are fundamental in navigating the challenging landscape of family court and rebuilding your life. Now, in this module, we're going to be reclaiming strength in the face of family court. For those who don't know, I'm Jason, the Apple What's It, and I'll be guiding you through this treacherous journey, hopefully making it a little bit better for you. This journey starts with honesty. Now, right now, you might feel lost, angry, and powerless in the face of family court. Slightly obvious reasons why, especially if you're a man. Let's face it. Let's just sort of call it as it is. You can't control the court system. You can't control your ex-partner's actions or her words or his words. Trying to seize control of those moments not only leads to more frustration, but also more pain. Pain for you and pain for your children or child. This lesson isn't about admitting defeat, but about accepting reality. Acknowledging your lack of control over these external forces. And that's the first step of finding peace within yourself. Now, instead of focusing on what you can't control, shift your energy to what you can influence. Your own actions and reactions is what you can influence. How you respond to things, how you react to things. This means choosing how you respond to challenges and how you manage your emotions and how you communicate. This is where your true power lies. Remember, reclaiming your strength is a journey. It starts with honesty and acceptance. By shifting your focus to what you can control, you'll begin to find peace and empowerment in the face of family court. Now, take a deep breath. Breathe with me. Shoulders back. That's me as well. We need to take a deep depth breathe, and we need to move forward together. People say, because everyone's got, the products of our childhood, right? People say, my mum's been my narcissistic abuser, and now there's a holiday to commemorate this. Now, I talked about this a few weeks ago on a live or a video somewhere. But basically, Mother's Day past. Now, believe me, my empathy is with you, is because I know that it's hard to almost feel like you're sort of mandated to have to be nice to your ex-partner and show respect, or even your mother, if this was the case, especially when your mother was never really that nice to you. But on this Mother's Day or birthday, whatever it might be, take a moment to think about how it relates to some things that we've been reading about lately, and that's the hard work of co-parenting a child. Not just co-parenting with, it's tough parenting any child, but my empathy is with you because I know that that's so hard as well when you're parenting a child against a narcissistic co-parent, or meant to be co-parenting with you, but it's a narcissistic parent and they're not really co-parenting with you at all. In fact, it's not even parallel parenting. You're getting abused, and then you have to go and be nice, and you get into my philosophy is be respectful, be nice, and you're being abused literally day in and day out because of it, under the noses of the professionals. But they do, and you have to accept that they have got their emotions and their feelings too. And that's where we switch off, because we don't want to accept their feelings or emotions, because our feelings and emotions are probably more important. That's how it feels at the time. But if you have like a narcissistic co-parent, they may well obviously discard you as a parent, and make you feel insignificant in front of the child. It may be one more day that you having to argue about in terms of giving the child over for them on their birthdays or whatever, or sacrificing, taking the moral high ground. Your court order, your final court order, doesn't say on it what it needs to say. So you're always arguing about the same shit rather than going back to family court and getting it sorted out, or you making the sacrifices. And that's what it comes down to. If it's, I see this so many times. Parents don't mind, mums don't mind the dads. Parents don't mind, the mums don't mind the dads stepping in and getting extra contact when it suits the mum, when it suits them. So then that's when they refer to the part on the court order. And if you've got a decent court order, then you say decent, a normal court order, then you should have a part on there that says parties may agree different or alternative contact between them. It needs to be agreed in writing. And what they'll do is they'll give you, when they need help, they'll allow you to have extra contact that's beyond what's on the court order. And it's like they're giving that to you. And it's like, well, I'm the dad. Why are you giving it to me? It's not like, why are you making me feel that way? And then you have to be grateful for that fact that they're giving it to you. And then they go to court and they say, well, I've given them extra contact. When you suited you, what about when I had a birthday party to go to, or a family relative or something that happened, and I needed my children to come with me? You didn't give them over then. And it's always when they want something or when it works for them. Now, I don't know if you're new to this channel or not, but if you are, or my page or wherever you're looking at the social media, my thing is, my theory is, my purpose, as I'm here to help you navigate and heal from narcissistic relationships and hopefully avoid those tricky relationships in the future. I want this to be your guide, a place where you don't feel alone in all of this chaos that comes with the separation of especially against a narcissistic ex-partner. If you're new here, like I said, just subscribe or like or follow, whatever it might be on whichever platform you're looking at this and watching this on. What I want to do now is I want to take a deep dive into healing. And like if you're doing this on the training, there'll be a link below that you can look at with the PDF on there that you should be able to see. Now think of this video as a bonus, as a part 2 of our last video. I had a bit of an aha moment the other day, and it was like in the middle of the night. And I remember when we were talking about being the new partner of someone's broken up with a narcissist. Yeah, well, I've missed something big. Yeah, something that needs to have its own video, its own space. And it's interesting that I forgot that point, but then that's a question and a topic for my therapist, not for YouTube or not for this training session. So if you remember, we covered co-parenting struggles. We feel that some of them were feeling misunderstood, and if you've dealt with a narcissist yourself and the general chaos that a narcissistic ex can bring, but here's where the missing piece is. What happens when your partner, the one with the narcissistic ex, takes the stress out on you? Let me be clear. That's not okay. Yeah, especially not okay if you've got your own narcissistic ex baggage, or if you're helping with the kids. And let me know in the comments or in the feedback forms that you get for the training. Let me know if this is a common thing. I think this is going to be more common than what we think. Now, look, we all have bad days, and we all get grumpy. We snap, but constantly taking it out on you is not how to deal with a narcissistic ex. Here's the thing: even in the best relationships, stress makes us act out. Yeah, ideally we apologize and we do better next time, and it's not just keep repeating the same cycle of shit, right? But having a narcissistic ex is stressful, especially with ongoing ties like kids or business or shared families. If you're dating someone in this situation, you'll know pretty quickly how it's going to be tough. And as we've talked about it before, the narcissistic ex might try to befriend you or send weird messages to you or even stalk you or social media stalk you. But there is a pattern, and here it is to watch out for. Is your partner dumping their ex-related stress onto you? Are they constantly lashing out or getting frustrated when you try to talk about it? We can all handle a grumpy partner once in a while, but lashing out isn't okay. And it's not your job to be their emotional punch bag. What can you do? Well, if your partner's open to it, therapy can help set boundaries and communication strategies. But honestly, if someone hasn't dealt with their narcissistic ex-baggage, they shouldn't be in a new relationship. It's not fair on you, especially if they're still reeling from the drama and taking it out on you. If you're in this situation, have a serious word with yourself in the mirror and set some ground rules. If you're constantly dealing with their bad moods because of their ex, think hard about the relationship that you want and maybe get some therapy yourself. Learn how to manage their past and their reactions. You can't be their therapist and you can't be their punching bag, even if you have tons of empathy, especially if you've got your own narcissistic history. There's a limit. There is a limit. And you can't be their dumping ground for their stress. Simple as that. This video is also a little nudge for anyone with a narcissistic ex. Keep your reactions in check. Seriously consider if you're ready for a new relationship. Therapy can help you manage these feelings and emotions so it doesn't drag anyone else down with it. If it's a mess, you don't want someone else being in that mess with you, especially if it's someone that you care about. Maybe your partner needs to work on radical acceptance, realistic expectations, and stress management. But remember, even when you've got all of that down, these situations are tough. I've seen people decades out of their relationships, remarried with grandchildren, still dealing with their ex's nonsense. Sadly, most narcissists don't grow out of it. Their vindictiveness can last for a lifetime. Being on the receiving end of anger directed at somebody else is awful, and that's unacceptable. It's not hopeless, but your partner needs to own their shit. Find healthy outlets for their frustration and understand that you're not one of them. Now, what I've tried doing in this video, because it's playing out big time, is I'm trying to talk about, and on my channel as well, we're trying to talk about narcissism, dealing with narcissistic abuse, and navigating toxic relationships, especially dealing with it in family court. I hope that you find the answers to your questions here. If you're new, like I said before, subscribe, follow, link. There's a link, like, however you do it on Facebook, whatever it is these days, whichever social media platform you're seeing this on. If you can relate to anything that I'm saying, please give us a follow or give us some love. Yeah. If you find this, it's just how it is. Spread the word as well. Share if you can share. Is that right? Share. So if we're talking about all sorts of actually, but I get a lot of people who are co-parenting with a narcissist, whether they're still in the relationship or not. This is a big thing. It's like, why can't I tell my children how badly the narcissistic co-parent treats me? This is something that comes up a lot, and maybe many people think, why can't I just be honest and tell my children what they need to know, which is the truth? The common advice for co-parenting with a narcissist and parenting in general is that you should never, ever talk badly of the other parent to your children. This can be really hard, especially when there's been infidelity or betrayal or other serious problems. Why is this advice? Well, it's because it's not good for children to hear negative things about either parent. In extreme cases, where there's danger or violence, the most important thing is to keep the children safe. That's always the priority. But you don't have to pretend that the narcissistic parent is wonderful or heroic. And you shouldn't try to make your children believe that the narcissist's behaviour is okay. That's harmful. That's really harmful. You're basically walking a very difficult path. Like you're walking on a tightrope made of barbed wire. It's a tough situation. Often, narcissistic parents can switch between being abusive to the partner and acting like the perfect parent to their children. Fun, giggling away, laughing, but then nothing for you. This can be confusing for everyone, especially the children who might enjoy their time with the narcissistic parent, even though they see the harm they're causing. This can make children feel guilty, confused, and torn between their parents. You might feel like you have to tell the children the truth because you want them to understand that the better parent, who is his behaviour is not acceptable. Yeah, or because you need their support. But putting children in a position where they have to choose sides is never good. Never good. I've also done it myself. I'm guilty of it when I was many years ago with Lila. I said stuff with her that I should never have said. It's also likely that the narcissistic parent has already been saying bad things about you. making things even more confusing for the child. Children are often smarter than we give them credit for as they get older, especially around middle school, turning 13. The turning 13 is the big one they look out for, trust me. They start to see through the narcissistic parent's charm. They might not be able to say it directly, but they sense it, and they sense something isn't right and that things aren't fair. Your goal should be to make sure they understand that any bad behaviour from the narcissistic parent isn't their fault. Sometimes children grow up to see the narcissist for what they are, and they might become closer to the abused parent. But sometimes they might be tricked into believing that the narcissist's story. It's unpredictable and sad. But the most important thing is not to burden your children with these adult problems too early. So what can you do? Be honest and open without talking badly about the other parent or putting too much stress on your children. Focus on being the best parent you can be to get the support that you need. It's a delicate balance, and sometimes it won't feel fair or right for you. You will have to make decisions that you don't want to make. Co-parenting with a narcissist is one of the hardest things you'll ever go through. Its path is long and it's unfair, and it's emotionally, it's the most painful thing you'll ever experience. So your focus should always be on protecting and caring for what your children within the situation and what they're feeling and what they're experiencing. If you have more questions or need any more help, check around the video somewhere. Give me a call. We can talk through some more stuff. Stay strong and take care. My hope is that this content helps you better learn how to navigate and understand these relationships so you can heal from them, and if you're in them, or avoid them in the first place. And so hopefully, even if this is one person, that might be enough. That's enough for me. It also helps me talk and articulate what I'm saying too. So I think that's about it, really. If you need anything, this channel is here for you. And if you've got any questions or anything specifically raised, leave it in the comments. This one of the comments I saw the other week actually was, I feel really bad for the parent. I feel really bad for what happened to my children because my co-parent is really narcissistic, and it's taken its toll on them, on the child. So I was like, I don't know, let's take this question on a little bit, because it's one that comes in a lot from people who are dealing with this. So it's not just about what can I do, but it's really feel bad because. So take a look at this, right? So often I've heard the question, the most consistent question that I get, it comes to co-parenting with a narcissist, and I get it from all sides of parents, both men and women. How do I protect my child from their narcissistic parent, or protect my child from the fallout of having a narcissistic parent? And this is the question. So whether the parents are still married or divorced, whether they are co-parenting or in the same house, or co-parenting across the town or across the country, the answer isn't always satisfying. The fact is, there is only so much you can do. More than you think, but only so much, especially as the non-residing parent. You have to be heavy with your empathy. Never gaslight your children. Don't triangulate, and it's as hard as it is, do not speak badly of the other parent. Definitely do not do that in the child's presence. Never weaponize your children. Ultimately, whatever you do, having an antagonistic parent, it does take its toll on the child, especially the day in and day out. But that said, having one solid parent who is present and can be a major offset to the difficult parent, and really give the child the secure attachment, empathy, compassion, and mirroring that they need. And again, I'm speaking from experience. I have to say that children who have that, who have a solid parent, despite having the narcissistic parent, yes, they're probably still going to have they're going to be plagued with a little bit of anxiety, and that's not good. But it's best. It's better than what it could be. It happens. That's life. But still, they have a solid sense of themselves and do just fine in life. And look at Lila's GCSEs; it's done fine. And the fact is that children from these families can often have more realistic view of the world and human relationships, but nothing you can do about it. There's nothing. It's the same toll everywhere. Now, all of that said, the issue that comes up for parents beyond that question is, I feel terrible for what happened to my children because of this awful relationship. I feel awful that they had to deal with a gaslighting parent, or a toxic divorce, or their other parents' inconsistency, or unavailability, or manipulation, whatever the case might be. And the parents will often go on to blame themselves for choosing such a lousy partner, or not understanding the narcissism sufficiently, or initially the relationship, or before they had the children, wasn't even good enough, or not adequately recognizing the impacts on their children, or their children having to endure the difficulties of having to spend solo time with the narcissistic parent without the other parent being there. So sort of protect them from the custody arrangement, and recognizing that when they come home from that more difficult parent's home, you can see that as it's taken its toll on them. Or when they come off a video call with the other parent, you can see it's taken a toll on them. And all of this is very, very, very difficult on parents who feel bad for their children. This has to be said. And there is sitting with that terrible feeling of, I did this to my children. There's no amount of reassurance I or anyone else can give that helps parents with that mindset. It's sort of, if it falls under something that we can call a moral injury, that you feel that you did a bad thing to someone, your kids in this case, even if it was not intended to have to live, you have to live with that in a sense of sort of badness in yourself. But the difference is that you didn't really do anything bad. We live in a world where nobody is taught about narcissism and antagonism and gaslighting and all of the other toxic dynamics in high school, or at an age where it can really help all of us be better gatekeepers for who we let into our lives. And we also do not do a good job of helping emerging adolescents and adults actually feel good with themselves. The gauntlet has always been told that you need to be more. And all the social comparisons we've always engaged with, and all the stuff that happens in the world, also does a number of on young people's heads. Do you know what I mean? Does it, the fake pictures on Instagram and wherever it is they get the pictures from these days, as it always has been, generation after generation have had exactly the same time that they've had to start and date. The fact is, there are different methods of that material, like magazines or newspapers. Yeah, but now it's phones. The fact is, dating from a place of self-devaluation is a recipe of disaster. And yet many, many people are doing this, right? So if it's folks are taught with what toxic people and toxic relationships really are, and that all of us deserve better, then many more of us would have made far better relationship choices. But we aren't, and we didn't, and here we are. So what can you do, right? You didn't set out to choose a toxic co-parent for your children. It happened. The world enables these patterns. So even when your instincts may have told you this relationship doesn't feel cool, the world told you to stick it out. Yes, we did. We do. No need to take responsibility for this, our choices. But nonetheless, none of this is easy. It's understandable that you would feel bad about this. Most parents just want to do right by their children, to keep them safe, to help them achieve more. And we would always regret doing anything that would harm our children. We strap them into car seats and we make sure that they eat well, and we read to them, and we do our best for them to keep them safe from dangers of the world. Most of us try to do that at least at minimum. So when we feel responsible for being the ones who could not protect our children from the harms of an invalidating parent, we take little solace in always remembering. I don't know about. We always put the sunscreen on them. We always give them help with their homework, but we need to get lost within how much hurt they experience. It's just not enough to remember the kind of sunscreen, right? Put the sunscreen on them and feed them water, right? It's keep in mind that too, that the tolls on the children is watching the healthy parent suffer. They see the healthier parent being gaslit, they see them being invalidated. They see them being dismissiveness. Your children even sense that you are their safe space, and it's painful and hurtful for them, confusing for them as well. Your ability to stay steady, to be there for them, if you do leave, to show them that your strength, even on the days when you feel like you don't have much of it, it teaches them tons about self-respect. If you do stay in the relationship, your ability to be there for them and show them your strength again and again, even on the days when you don't feel much like it, teaches them that this relationship didn't break you. Those lessons are more valuable and more important than you think. But here is the hard truth. You are not the parent who's invalidating them. You're not the parent who's gaslighting them. You're not the one who's criticizing them, ignoring them, or using them as a prop or as a weapon. The tyranny of a narcissistic abuse is that we blame ourselves for the narcissistic person's behaviour. You aren't responsible. It's painful to witness it, but you're not responsible for it. And most of us didn't always have the skills to be as discerning as what we should be, especially when you're meeting new people and having sexual relationships with them, especially if we grew up in a narcissistic family system, which a lot of people did without even realising. So regretting what this did to your children becomes the fallout. Further fallout for your own self-devaluation, or feeling like you couldn't choose a good partner, feeling that there was no right for you to expect better from this partner, and giving and having to live with another generation of cycles of self-blame for harm to your children. Narcissistic abuse runs deep in families, and it often runs through our life histories. This is a sense of like object relations theorist in the area of psychoanalysis, and he had talked about the good enough parent. None of us are close to the perfect. None of us are close to perfect, least of all in our parenting. We just need to get it right enough of the time that you trust in our families and our failures, and actually where our children have to learn from our failures, learn a little on their own to cope and soothe themselves. Having a narcissistic co-parent makes this harder, but it also can be useful to shift the lens away from this idea of I harmed my child by having them have this parent, and rather see it as I'm there for my child and helping my child see the light and see goodness despite what's happening to us. I've heard countless stories of people who had narcissistic parents, and these folks, despite their parents, are often some of the most extraordinary, loving, compassionate, wise, and badass people that I've actually had the pleasure of knowing. Yes, this will take its toll on your children, and yes, it is hard to witness, but you do your best despite the conditions. And it's amazing to see that the impact this can have on your children. You're just doing your best. The fact is, almost all children have something that they bear, some sort of trauma. It's called the human experience. And one last way you can contextualize this is because we can often get ourselves caught in these thought loops of, well, if I had been with someone different and my kids with someone different, then it would be different, right? The kids you've got, those kids you love, they came from you, they come off you and this other person, you're narcissist or not. It's a bit again, like, it's just a bit like pointless. It's a pointless exercise because it would be different. It would be different children. You'd be with someone else's children. And when you look at those faces, they're not like, nah, this is my kid. This is my kid. This is come from that person. And sometimes that can help you, infuse you with self-compassion, because saying the world needed your child just as they are, and yes, this was a hard pass, but you didn't do this to your kids. This is a combination of what's yielded that wonderful person that you've been brought into this world. And so instead of wishing for the impossible, it's just about recognizing the present and being present and recognizing that, yeah, there's a lot more weight on that your bat that you have to swing, but swing it you will. And your children will see that, and that consistency and that solidarity goes a really, really, really long way. You can be there for them without actually being there for them. You can teach them without actually having to sit them on your knee and say, this is the lesson. Your experiences, they see that, they witness it, they see it, and they see you with coming back again and again and again. And that gives them the sense of pride. They know they're not being left alone. And you would not imagine, and I see it now firsthand. I see it firsthand. I value the role that I play in my daughter's life. I've spent less than half of her life with her, having what I would call quality time. But our relationship is tighter than ever. And we've found a way of coping with it, and we found a way of dealing with it. And that is priceless. I'm going to kill that fly soon. But anyway, that's what I've got to say. I've got to the end, and funny enough, everyone's asleep. So the internet didn't go off. Funny that. But anyway, that's a different conversation for a different time. I've got to be in beach somewhere tomorrow in a few hours' time. So I've had my nap earlier. I'll come back and bish bash bosh, here we are.